The golden rule is to do unto others as you would have them do unto you. It is a teaching from Jesus that just as we would want people to be kind and caring and loving to us, then we need to act in the same way towards them. However, it is good to know that even though we all want to experience that kindness and love, that we might actually experience it best in different ways. We're all unique individuals, and so we experience life differently and have different preferences, and that includes how we may best feel loved. We're doing a sermon series based on Gary Chapman's book, The 5 Love Languages. Chapman is a Christian counselor who recognized that different people experience love in different ways. He identified those different ways as quality time, acts of service, words of affirmation, physical touch, and receiving gifts. Last week we looked at quality time, and I'm hoping you did your homework where you attempted to spend quality time with some of those whom you love. And I've heard from some of you, and it sounds like you've had some really neat experiences spending quality time with loved ones. The thought behind the 5 love languages is that we may experience love in all of these ways, but more than likely there are 1 or 2 of these languages that you relate to the most. And how you expect to receive love, or what you're looking for in order to feel love, is probably also how you demonstrate love to others. Because in your mind, that is what love looks like. But if the person you're demonstrating love to has a different love language, then they may not recognize that love. I gave you an example last week of a couple who had different love languages. And so even though the husband was attempting to demonstrate love to his wife, she was not experiencing that love because her love language was different, and she expected it to come to her in a different way. By the way, if you are interested, there is a link you can go to where you can take a quick quiz to determine what your primary love language is. That link is in the bulletin, on the website, and in the latest newsletter. This week, the love language that we will be focusing on is acts of service. One of the ways that we truly show God's love to each other is by serving each other. As we get ready to celebrate July 4th and our nation's independence, we recognize all those who have served. Particularly, we remember the scripture, John 15:13, when Jesus said, "Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends." So we take time to remember and honor those who showed the greatest love and acts of service for our nation and for all of us. When we do express love by serving someone else, it not only touches their life and ours, but often if others witness that expression of service, then they too feel that love. I noticed on Facebook Friday that Emery Birdwell shared a post from Dewey, Arizona. Apparently, there were 30 head of horses in the path of a fire in that territory. Someone posted on Facebook that they needed trailers to try to evacuate the horses. The first person drove up to see if they could help, and then looked behind them as at least 25 rigs pulled up to help. You could just feel the love as you read the story and saw the pictures. They were demonstrating God's love in a very real way by serving. By the way, if you think about it, the people in life that we truly admire the most are not those who by worldly standards are successful, but the ones who demonstrate their love for others by serving. Mother Teresa is one who is revered because of the way that she served others. The most notable physicians are not those with the biggest practice and the greatest wealth, but those who truly view their vocation as a calling to serve those who are sick. The greatest politicians are the ones who really see themselves as public servants. It is the teachers and the nurses and salespeople and ranchers and police officers and farmers who view their vocation as a way to serve others rather than just a way to make money, who will be the most satisfied in life and will make the most difference in other lives. My daughter and I were talking about the various love languages the other day, and she stated that of all of them, it seemed like acts of service is the one that took the greatest effort. She pointed out that acts of service is the love language that you have to really think about beforehand and put out the extra effort to do. And so she considered acts of service as a very special demonstration of love. Let's be honest, for some people, it just seems to come natural to always be looking for ways to serve other people. Maybe for those people, it is their love language, and since they feel love when others serve them, then they are constantly looking for ways to serve and love others. I see that characteristic in a lot of you who seem to be so good at serving others. Nancy Light is one who I enjoy watching because she comes up with lots of creative ways to serve other people. I don't know if acts of service is her love language, but she's good at it. And that's true of so many of you. Yet I wonder about others of us, myself at the top of the list. Am I just not good at recognizing what might be helpful to someone else? I want to serve and be loving, but I'm not always sure what I should do. I find myself saying, if there's anything I can do to help, please let me know. And I really mean it, but I'm not confident in my cooking skills, and I'm not good at coming up with other practical ways to serve. Yet that is not an excuse we can use. We can't just say the acts of service is not our love language, so we're not going to do it. It may not be our primary love language, yet it is one that Jesus has instructed us to do. The passage that Madeline just read to us from Matthew 25 is where Jesus reminded us that whenever we gave food and drink to those who are hungry and thirsty, and invited the stranger in and visited the sick and those in prison, that whatever we did for the least of our brothers, that we have done that service for Christ. We serve the Lord by serving others. Jesus demonstrated this love language of acts of service over and over. In Mark 10, verse 45, it tells us that Jesus told his disciples that the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. His whole purpose in life was to demonstrate love through his service, even to the point of giving his life for us. In John 13, it says that Jesus showed them the full extent of his love. And then it goes on to explain in verses 4 and 5 how he took off his outer clothing, wrapped a towel around his waist, poured water into a basin, and began to wash the disciples' feet. He did it to show them an example. I have set you an example that you should do as I have done for you. Since Jesus demonstrated this way of showing love and specifically instructed us to follow his example and serve others, then we need to be faithful in loving and serving those around us. That includes those in our community and whose paths we cross. We need to always be looking for ways to demonstrate God's love by serving. But also, do you realize that sometimes the ones who are closest to us are the ones who end up being forgotten? We just assume they know we love them, and yet we are not constantly doing things to let them feel our love. We tend to get into ruts and routines in our daily lives, and we forget to demonstrate our loving feelings to those whom we are closest. Sometimes it can be the little things. Remembering to pick up our dirty clothes, being willing to take out the trash without having to be asked, washing the dishes or doing a chore around the house that someone else normally does. Just because your family has fallen into a routine of certain people doing certain chores doesn't mean that they might not really appreciate if you go out of your way to do something for them and just let them know, I did it because I love you. By the way, may I suggest that you ask each other, what can I do for you? Give me a list of 10 things around our home that I could do for you over the next month that would demonstrate my love for you. and ask in what priority they are in so that you can do what would make them feel the most loved. Otherwise, you might be doing the things that you think are the most important when your spouse or family member might be hoping you would do something else. You might decide that painting the garage, cleaning out the attic, and trimming all the bushes is the most important, when what she really, really would love is for you to just fix the knob of the cabinet that comes off in her hand every time she tries to open it. Or what he may really want is his favorite shirt mended instead of all the other things you might be considering doing. So it's not just doing random acts of service, though that is wonderful, but sometimes it makes the other person really feel loved if you just ask them what they would like the most, and then do it in a way that really demonstrates sincere care and love. Also, please note, attitude is a huge thing. No one wants to be nagged or shamed into doing something. If you are forced to serve, then that's not serving, that's slavery. So that doesn't mean you put your list together of all that you want done for you and then give it to the other person saying, "This is what I want you to do to show me that you love me." Instead, you be the gracious one to ask them how you can serve them and demonstrate love. Hopefully they'll catch on and ask you as well. But even if they are a little slow in catching on, just do your very best to serve them and show them your love for them. And in everything you do, do it in love. Galatians 5:13 says, "Serve one another in love." And as you serve, do it as if you are doing it for the Lord, because in fact you really are. It honors God as we show others love. Colossians 3 verses 23 and 24 says, "Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for men, since you know that you will receive an inheritance for the Lord as a reward. It is the Lord Christ you are serving." Finally, if someone does something for you as a way of showing his or her love for you, then please receive it in love. Serving someone should bring joy both to the one who is served as well as the one who serves. Sharing that experience should touch both lives with love and connect them in a special way. In John 13, when Jesus is washing the disciples' feet, he comes to Peter, and all of a sudden Peter is too high and mighty or shows false humility or whatever, but he tries to stop Jesus from serving him by washing his feet. In John 13, verses 8 and 9, Peter said, "No, you shall never wash my feet." Jesus answered, "Unless I wash you, you have no part with me." Jesus was serving in this way as a teaching moment and a demonstration of service and a special connection with each of his disciples. And Peter, in his pride or misunderstanding of what was going on, almost missed this critical moment, and he would have missed out on that connection with Jesus. Do not miss out on the loving connection that can be made during acts of service. Some of us are not the best at doing acts of service, and some of us are also not good at receiving that love from others. And yet, if we do not participate in that love language, we miss out on that connection with others and with God. So, your homework assignment for this week is to demonstrate the love language of acts of service. Look for ways that you can demonstrate acts of service to those in our community and those who come across your path, but particularly be intentional about finding ways to demonstrate acts of service to those who are closest to you. When you do, you will not only be showing love to them, but as Jesus pointed out, you will also be showing your love to Him. Amen.